thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cyndi O'Meara, Carren Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Carren Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cyndi O'Meara.
And today's podcast is a bit soulful, it feels to me. We've had some really amazing podcasts over the last couple of weeks. We've had some huge feedback from you guys on our Facebook page, and it's just been fabulous to feel so connected with so many of you guys. And it really kind of inspired today's podcast for us to be able to look beyond the human form and look outside to see what else is available to us in the context of connection and nature, and how it feels to be connected to nature, and how it feels to really become very present to what exists beyond just us and outside of our front door. So Cyndi came up with the idea of talking about our connection to nature. So I say you kick us off, girlfriend.
Me, girlfriend, yes. Or Kim, girlfriend?
You.
No, you, girlfriend.
I love
Cyndi,
it.
girlfriend.
Cyndi, girlfriend. Oh, okay. Well, I have been in nature a lot lately. I've been very fortunate. A year ago, you, Miss Carren, and you, Kimmy, we were in Peru and absolutely immersed in the Andes Mountains, the Sacred Valley, the trails that we did. You know, it was a year ago, just over a year ago, we've come home, and I know we were all on a high. And I realized that of all the holidays I ever do, or of all the time out that I do, if I don't do it in nature, it doesn't revive me. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Los Angeles City in the center for a week. I couldn't survive in it. I had to go for a walk up at Rundle Canyon. I had to go for a walk to the observatory, which was like a 4 or 5 hour hike in hot weather. So I realized that it's so important. And I've just been to Yosemite National Park.
Oh, wow.
I feel like, you remember that day, Kimmy, that I called you? I'd been on the 4-phase fat elimination protocol for 10 days and you thought I was on drugs?
Yeah, very well.
I don't know if you remember that, but I was absolutely in awe of nature because I was in the mountains at that stage. And so I've been at Yosemite National Park. I've been to a lot of national parks, and I've seen a lot of amazing nature places. And it's funny, one of the girls that's with me at the moment, who is my son's girlfriend, she said to me, Cyndi, would that be the best thing you've ever been to? And I said, yeah, it was pretty amazing. And I feel amazing. I'm energized, through waterfalls and over streams, and it was just amazing. And she said, would that be your favorite place? And I went, oh, it's really hard to say because the Andes were really good, but so were the Himalayas, and so's Africa. And I realized everything that I talked about was about being in nature. It was about getting out of the cities, getting out of the luxuries of life, and hiking in whatever area it is, whether it be a desert plain, a mountain plain, along a beach. It just is something that revives me. Is it and I guess I wanted to ask you, Carren and Kim, because Kim with her oils is all about nature, and I know my foods are all about nature, but there must be something about it that mentally changes us, that switches us. So the minute I went from Los Angeles to Runyon Canyon, or from Los Angeles to I can't remember the name of the national park that's in Los Angeles, or the state park, I don't know what it is. What is it that does that? Does that do that for everybody, or do some people just love the city and hate spiders and snakes and dirt, dust, sand and mountain air and being wet by a we went on the mist walk, which was amazing, in Yosemite, and you walk that close to the waterfall that you get sopping wet, absolutely sopping wet. So is it just some people that are like that, or do you think everybody needs to go back there? So I'm throwing the question back at both of you.
Kimmy, do you want to go first, love?
Well, I mean, we do know from a scientific level the measurement of negative and positive ions compared to nature and cities and things like that. So we do know that walking on a beach or being close to water or being in a park or having areas where we are surrounded by nature has a real increased amount of what they call negative ions. And to compare that, I guess, and to really feel the significant difference in that, you only have to walk into a Harvey Norman or a computer shop and stand next to a whole lot of TV screens or screens to feel what it's like to be surrounded by a whole lot of positive ions. So the positive ions we know can bring our energy levels very down. Sometimes our immune system is compromised. We're not vibrating at our most highest frequency. Therefore, we're not going to shake off bugs and colds. So if we're under fluorescent lights or we're in office environments a lot, then that is why some people will get sick a lot. Or if you're in a hospital environment that's supposedly cleansed air, it's recycled air-conditioned air, that has a lot of positive ions. So the minute you step into nature or walk bare feet on grass or even just standing in your garden or under a tree or smelling a rose or being significantly in nature is when you will notice that the feeling just changes. And I don't know, Cyndi, I'm yet to meet anyone who doesn't feel the difference or who doesn't notice it. I think as human beings we are naturally drawn to nature. I think as human beings, our souls are absolutely inspired in nature. I've not met anyone yet who, gets up in the morning and goes for a walk and comes back and goes, damn, I wish I hadn't done that. So I think it's natural for us to significantly pull ourselves into those spaces and want to be there. The challenge for a lot of us is the feeling that we're on a treadmill, or the feeling like we haven't got time for that, or the feeling like perhaps we're not even worthy of that time, like we discount it because we think we've got so many other things in the busyness of life to get on and do, or that we go into martyrdom and feel like no one else is going to do it, so we might as well do it. So we probably self-sabotage ourselves in a way and deny ourselves the privilege by thinking other things are more important. But having been in places with you girls in particular, and I have to say to you, I still to this day have never laughed so hard as what we did in the Andes Mountains when we saw Carren come off that bloody horse.
Here it is again.
So to be in nature and have a belly laugh is probably one of the greatest medicines, and I cannot wait for New Zealand with you this year. But, I think that's why we've taken ourselves from doing, big indoor events to having people come and share with us with that in nature. I think it fast tracks us to God or universe or spirit or source. It is a fast track way to connect with them. And I truly believe that's why we three have such an affinity and such a love for sharing that with others, because we know in the busyness of our worlds how important it is for us to, I guess, find that balance or to recharge or to reconnect back in, to find our soul, our purpose and what it is we're truly about. And I'm sure that is why I am so drawn to essential oils, because for many of us that do struggle sometimes to get into nature, that is one of the quickest ways and easiest ways to bring nature to you.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think there's also there's a perfection about nature which is innate. And there's a beautiful energetic dance when we go into the metaphysical, meaning beyond physical. There's a beautiful energetic dance that occurs and synergy that occurs between the rocks and the water, and then the grass and the trees and the clouds and the sun, and the interaction between one tree and another tree and a vine, and then a palm and a plant, and the soil that it grows from. There's this beautiful synergistic energy that's constantly in support of the ecosystem when we're in nature, and everything is just perfectly balanced in harmony. And there's a frequency, there's a measurable vibrational frequency that can be ascertained when we go into those environments, that can, which is what we see and what we feel. And when you take in those beautiful smells of the pine cones or the beautiful smells of the fresh soil, the fresh earth, there's a sensation that happens inside of the body that brings us back into harmony. It's almost like it's finding synergy. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this as well. He says, if you've got a whole bunch of people drumming frantically all over the shop with no rhythm and, it's just all very messy, and then you put 4 drummers in there who actually do have a beat and they all drum to the same beat, eventually all of the other drummers will eventually fall into synchronization. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like when you think of flocks of birds, how a flock of birds can be flying in one direction and then all of a sudden they'll all turn instantaneously and simultaneously and fly in another direction. Yeah. And schools of fish,
they do how they don't bang into each other.
I know, right? I know. So there's this natural law of harmony that occurs in nature, and it does actually occur inside of the human being. But because we have such a distracted life, and because we've become so conditioned outside of that harmony to do the things that we do, to live in the disrupted environments that we do with Wi-Fi and electromagnetic fields and so on, we've lost our ability to identify with harmony, and instead we're identifying with money and success and competition and whatever else. So when we go into nature, it's almost as if you don't have words for it. You can't describe it, but you just know that there's a different sensation that makes you feel good. Because ultimately nature is singing to a hymn sheet that when you go into nature, the longer you're in there, the more likely you are to sing to the same hymn sheet, which is why when we had so much longer, we had such a long time in the Andes, we were all very connected to each other. We were all in harmony with each other. We were all in harmony with the mountains, the water, everything around us. After 5 days, we felt very grounded, very connected, and very much in harmony. And it's as if, all of the mountains and the animals and the beauty of nature was all beating the same beat. And then we came in all disrupted, and eventually we just all got in tune. So it's, I think that I know that there's this beautiful energetic harmony that we tune into. And the more we're in nature, the more we associate with a very grounded, very real sense of self. And there's this, I can't remember who said it, but they said if we could put music to the vibrational frequency of every organ in the body, we would have the most extraordinary symphony and harmony. And then, of course, when something's, out of sync and out of harmony, then it kind of throws the beat out a little bit. But when everything is in harmony, there's a beautiful symphony. And if we could do the same thing globally with the human and all of nature, then we'd be talking about an orchestra of, of magnitude that's beyond our comprehension. And I just think that would be amazing for us to be able to take those frequencies and put them to sound. I want somebody to do that. I really want somebody to do that. I think that would be amazing. I know that there are places in the States that are working on that and being able to use functional magnetic resonance imaging and the and other machines that can measure the frequencies. They are working on being able to put that towards sound. How far they've gotten with it, though, I don't know. But wouldn't that just be amazing to walk into a forest and hear it, not just see it? Oh.
Is that to do similar with that thing where, I'm not sure where I read it or heard it, where you might be able to help me. There was, I think, 4,000 Tibetan monks who meditated in Central Park in New York over a certain number of hours, and it significantly reduced the levels of crime that were happening. And there was a lot of testing around, well, it wasn't just the timing, it was when they did it and how they did it. And, there was no question that significant moment in time where they were all meditating had an effect on New York itself. Is that something either of you have heard of or know much about?
Yeah, back in 1983, there was an experiment done, and there's been a number of them done since just for extra testing. But they took 200 people to sit in a room doing transcendental meditation. And the governor for police recorded a drop in crime across the state of 23% during the time of the meditation. And he said that the only other thing that would have crime drop so significantly is if everybody slept, if nobody woke up.
Wow.
So he said there would be nothing else that could promote such a huge drastic drop in crime other than nobody waking up for the day. Yeah, and it was over a week. So it was it was pretty profound. But there's been heaps of other experiments done similarly where they found 3%, 16%, 18%, and depending on the size of the population. There hasn't been an experiment done around meditation where they haven't seen a decrease in some way, shape or form in crime or tension or stress. Yeah, it's pretty profound.
Yeah, it's amazing. You don't feel like committing a crime when you're in the middle of nature, do you? I mean, really.
True that. True that.
Okay, let's just talk about people, and I'm going to go here. Let's just talk about people who are in Africa, and I've come across them, and they're poachers, and they are actually I haven't come across the poachers, but I've come across the people that go to hunt wild game, and we've seen photos, so we feel like that. But you put these people out there, they just want to kill an animal. The poachers just want to buy or get the rhino horn and sell it. It's worth an absolute fortune on the Asian market. It's meant to be an aphrodisiac, yet there's no proof that it is an aphrodisiac. And yet they continue to kill these beautiful rhinos for their horns. So while we feel like that and we've created this beautiful conversation about it, and I agree entirely with you guys, why are other people who go into nature just want to go either poach these beautiful animals that are, we're pulling them into extinction, or why do they want to kill them? Carren, I am you must be just horrified being who you are. I will eat an animal. I know that. I eat animals. But I'm about now I'm feeling really bad about the fact that I'm eating animals when I'm talking about what the
I can actually hear it in your voice.
I could hear it backtracking.
Oh yeah. No, let's forget that I eat animals. Let's just go.
Let's just go back to what you're saying.
Yeah, just let's go back to that. And because friends of ours, they have these are the people that have actually created the whole tour to Africa for us, and it's Safari Frank, and they're the thing that they do with Safari Frank is that the money that they make, they put into the stopping of poaching of the rhinoceros, and especially the white rhino, and that's why I'm so excited about going to Africa, is that this is what we are putting our money towards, is that, yes, we're being taken on a beautiful expedition through Namibia, through Botswana, through Zimbabwe and South Africa, but the money that is being raised, and it's not the whole lot, but a percentage of it goes to save those rhinos. So why is it some people get out there and they just kill wild game and these beautiful animals, but they don't eat them, they don't use them, they either just stuff them, get a photo of themselves on it, and it makes me sick. It makes me really sick to see it, and it makes me sick to see these rhinos with their horns cut off and the babies laying beside them.
Don't.
To wake up. Yeah, and so while nature gives all of that to us, there are other spirits and people out there that, I don't know, it does the exact opposite. They want to cut down the trees. They want to destroy our forests, the Amazon. And
honey, I cried standing there watching the gardener come around and chop my hedge 2 feet.
Oh.
I stood there sobbing, going, "You can't cut the hedge." I was an absolute cock case because he took 2 meters off it, and I couldn't believe. I honestly felt like I would be terrible in the Amazon jungle watching. I'd be killed. I'd get killed in Africa if I was trying to save a rhino, probably by the rhino and anyone else out there. I don't understand it. I was speaking to someone the other day though, whose brother tragically died in a helicopter accident, and he was a hunter from he used to go out and hunt deer from a helicopter, and I found it really hard to say I'm really sorry when she told me how he died, and it was terrible because it was awful. But I go, wow, they have a different mentality and a different perception about that being okay. You wouldn't do that if you didn't think it was okay. So these poachers, whether it's driven by poverty or a lack or whatever, I don't understand it, but we've never been in their position either. I'm not making it right. I don't know. There's just a different perception here.
I think if you think about, the nature of the human and our ability to be desensitized, and, no disrespect to people who do eat animals with what I'm about to say, but even to that extent, we are desensitized. You go into a feedlot or you go into a beautiful farm that is looking after cows, but growing them in order to make them food. That's still nature. And the fact that that can happen is simply a case of us just being desensitized to, our ability to take life, because we have the ability to do it. We do it. And, we can go back as far as religious times and, all of that sort of stuff. And there's all kinds of different conversations about that, killing animals to eat it or killing animals to feed your family in another way. In Africa, I grew up there, and I remember that the poaching was always a huge issue when I was a kid. And they didn't have the laws in place back then that they do now. So poaching was prolific. And I remember even back then, it used to just hurt me and debilitate me so dramatically that I couldn't go to school. My mum and dad would be wondering why I was lying on my floor, and I was 5 years old, and I would just be sobbing because I would have seen something on the news or heard of something from our nannies. And I think there is, this need to survive that drives a lot of that behavior. And we can become desensitized to such an extent that we don't feel anymore. We're not in tune anymore. We've disconnected from our ability to feel the connection between us and another creature or another piece of life or another piece of existence. We've disconnected from that, because if you take a child out to a farm where they grow cattle or sheep for food, and you show a child that, the child won't ever go near meat. They'll never eat it because they have that association. But as we get older, because we buy our food from Woolies or from the butcher or what have you, we're desensitized to the process of the killing, of the taking of the life. And then obviously the same thing happens in the tribes. I remember our nannies, they would always go back to their tribes, and the men would be out hunting and the women would be, back in the villages doing the preparation of the food. It's just the need to survive and the desensitization to that process. But then, sometimes I think we go too far, like, the hunters who kill for sport. I think we go too far. And I think that there's that natural cycle of life where everything is part of a cycle. I think there's that aspect to it, but then there's also the extreme aspect to it. And there's always extremists in everything, in religion, in health, well-being, in sickness. There's always extremists in everything. And those extremists, those are the ones that hunt for sport and for trophy hunting. Well, that's a whole other conversation that I'm totally holding myself back from right now. But, I'm in ferocious disagreement of, and, they should be part of the cycle of life themselves. So for people who go out hunting and they they experience what the dangers are and the hazards of that choice, well, so be it. I just think that in and of itself, that is probably a cycle. I don't know.
Mm. And I think that desensitization is right. That, we go to the grocery store, we buy our food at the grocery store. So it's not only desensitization, Carren, of that they pick up the meat and they don't even know how that animal
Everything.
lives. They know nothing. They don't know how it was killed. They don't know. They don't even know what part of the animal that it came from. They don't know a lot. But we can go through the whole grocery store. They don't know how the food is produced. They don't know what chemicals are being sprayed. I have to tell you a story because it's about chemicals being sprayed. So we were driving from Reno, Nevada, to Boise, Idaho. And it's a lonely track, I can tell you that now. It's very desert, and there's not many petrol stations along the way. And Howard needed to get petrol. We needed some lunch. It was a 12-hour drive in the vehicle that we're in. So we stopped and we have a motorhome with us. So we stopped and we made it. And it was in the middle of the desert. It was, you could see, for as far as you could see, with mountains just in the background with snow on it, believe it or not. And I'd made lunch. We all sat down and ate lunch in the air conditioning because it was 40-something degrees outside and blowing a very hot wind. But I decided to go to the petrol station, which was a bit of a walk away. But I decided to go because I had rubbish and needed to go to the loo and, things like that. And as I walked past this truck that was at the side of the petrol station, it said aqua herbicide on it. So you know me. I went straight to the front of the truck and looked up at the driver and said, "Excuse me, what's that aqua herbicide? What's it called?" And he told me the name of it. And I said, "What's the active ingredient?" And he said, "Glyphosate." And I said to him, "You need to be careful about that." And he says, "Yeah, I've heard that California have just called it causes cancer. As of July 21st, it will have to say that it causes cancer." So here we are in the middle of nowhere in a desert region. I'm speaking to this gentleman that goes into the waterways and sprays herbicide with glyphosate. He then told me that he goes to all the power poles and he keeps the power poles around the power poles clean. But the workers that work near the power poles want to know that glyphosate's being sprayed, so they ask them to spray it with a dye as well. So the glyphosate is sprayed, the dye is sprayed. And then we were talking, he was great. Their names were Stanley and I can't remember the second guy's name. There were two of them because then the whole conversation started.
I keep picturing if they only knew who was walking up to them. If they only knew. Were your kids in the car going, "Oh, my God, Mum, oh, my God"?
Who was that?
I love it. I love it.
We were in Idaho. Then they told me they were from Idaho, and they said, "Do you know where we live in Idaho that the cancer rate has soared as well as in multiple sclerosis?" And he said they live near a food bowl where wheat is grown and they spray the glyphosate on the wheat, where there's some potatoes, they grow potatoes. As we drove through this area, I think he was talking about, I saw acres and acres of mint. You should have smelt it. It was amazing. And I kept hearing his words that they spray all of these beautiful crops, and not only with glyphosate, but with other chemicals. So we don't know what is happening, not only where but where our food is coming from and where this beautiful mountain water is being sprayed with glyphosate. It's called an aqua herbicide. We had these two guys and I, we had the best conversation. So then I told them that I had come to America to talk about what's with wheat. And so they were very keen to watch the documentaries. The conversations you have. But I think this is it. As I was out in nature And I felt like nature was being destroyed. And unless we make a stand and we start to take an active interest in our environment around us and how our food is being produced, I think we're just no better than that person who goes into nature and destroys it in some way. Because we are, if we're not taking active interest in it, we are actually contributing to the problem.
Yeah.
And like, I think, I don't know why, you know, I know we started this conversation, you know, about nature, but if we don't protect it as individuals, you know, we're not going to have it, and we're not going to be able to get those beautiful ions that you know we've been talking about, and the health of our you know, the whole human race is not going to do well. So
I think, Cyndi, it's come full circle almost, you know, because if our conglomerates and food manufacturers, they're so desensitized, they could not give a damn. They're only about profit. So the destruction and the killing and all of that of our nature, they don't care. So the only ones that actually can do anything about it, like you say, is us. It's the individual person.
Yeah.
Who takes back control, takes back the power of looking after nature and looking after the body, so then that harmony isn't compromised, because there's always going to be the poachers, there's always going to be the food manufacturers, and there's always going to be, you know, the hunters for sport, and, you know, those are the ones that are so desensitized they don't care. That it, you know, it just I had a bit of an a light globe moment there.
One of the things that, his name is Kendall, by the way, Kendall and Stanley. One of the things that they did say is they said that Monsanto's been bought out by one company, and that company's been bought out by another company. And he basically said, you know, there's only one or two companies that are ruling the chemical industry, and they seem to, there seems to be a non-caring about it. And so you're right, the companies are there to make money for their shareholders, and that's what it's all about. Whereas we as individuals, and for anybody listening to this, let's make a stand. You know, I know you guys have been listening to us for years now, and we talk about this, but let's not just talk about it. And I know the three of us act on this all the time. So I want all of our listeners to start acting on this. Find out in your council what chemical they're spraying on your parks and playgrounds and verges. Find out from your farmers what chemicals are being sprayed on your foods. Find out from the farmer that's next door to you, you know, what are you spraying? I kept looking as I'm driving past all these beautiful farms with all this beautiful food, and for some reason I didn't feel good about it because of what Kendall and Stanley had told me, that they were just spraying all of these beautiful foods with these chemicals. So maybe we, as together, as a collective, be up for chatters and all of the listeners. And for those people who want to experience a nature that is with a group of people that think the same, come to New Zealand and come to Africa with us. And let's see these wonderful lands. You come back changed, a different person. You never come back that same person. Every time I visit another place, I come back a different person, because I see a different culture. I see how people live. I see the beauty of nature, and I just go, I don't want this destroyed. And if I don't make a stand as an individual, I know that nobody, you know, and you think that one person can't make a difference. And I saw it the other day on Facebook. If you think you're too small to make a difference, think about one mosquito in a tent.
That's so true.
That's
so
great.
True. So true.
Yeah. One mosquito in a big tent.
Gold.
Do you know the other beautiful thing about nature to me, and where we get quite creative, is it's almost the pause between the noise. So there's so much noise in our world, but when you take a moment to get out, like I'm just picturing us all tramping and trekking in New Zealand now, and I'm so looking forward to it. But I'm thinking, you know, it's quite cool also when you know you're going to go and do a hike, or you know you're going to go and walk the beach before sunset, or you know you're just going to even walk to the letterbox with bare feet, that you do it. Try doing it with an added intention behind it, and do it with an intention of, I don't know, sometimes I come back and I think I'm not going to yell at my children. That's my intention. Other times I think, can you please, universe, give me the answer or support me to find the answer, give me a sign. And I love doing that on my beach, where if I'm making a decision on something, then sometimes I'll walk down to my beach and I'll ask for a sign. And if a butterfly should appear, and it has to go across the front of my face in order for me to really believe it, but often this is so bizarre, it actually happens, then I always take that as a sign, as my grandmother has just said, that's a great idea, When we look, there's a beautiful book called Signposts. I can't remember the author's name, but they talk a lot in there around the signs, and nature is a great barometer for signals and signs. If you learn what you were saying, Carren, how to tap into it and to actually get into the rhythm of it, maybe the more we practice that, it's probably like meditation or mindfulness, where you actually hear more in the solitude and quietness of nature than what you do, obviously, in the everyday noise of living and being who we are. I want to ask you both, it sounds so romantic and so idyllic, but what about on the days that we're frantic, or you're a mum with 2 kids, or you've had to take your puppies to the vet and life's busy, and what is both of your recommendations on how we check into that? How do we
stay French?
Yeah. Exactly, though, because it sounds so idyllic going on hikes to Africa and New Zealand, but the reality is for a lot of people that's not possible. So what else can we do to create that same feeling?
For me, I'm going to butt in, Carren.
Go.
Yeah, for me, it's my it's my morning routine. It's my getting up. I don't look at any social media. I go straight to the beach. I spend time on the sand in the water. And even though my day may end up exactly what you just talked about, Kimmy, I know the next morning I can be revived. And even in the evening, when I listen to our beautiful Joe Dispenza's gorgeous meditations, he actually puts me into a new place as well. So I may not be able to do it during the day, maybe some deep breaths, or I might ring one of you and just have a debrief, do something like that. But for the most part, sometimes I can't get out of it. It's just one thing after the other. It does become that. But to know that in less than 12 hours, I can be on the water, in the sand, in nature somewhere. So, yeah, that's a hard one, Kim, because I know for me, I get into that and I'm in it, and I can't seem to get myself out of it until it's finished, and then I will get myself out of it. Carren, what about you?
I try when things start to get really frantic or they get a little bit out of control for me, the only thing that I can do is force myself to come back and be very present and be very focused on the detail of that moment, and specifically just of that moment. So I use that analogy where I fall out of the sky and I say to myself, okay, well, imagine that I've just fallen out of the sky right this minute and I've landed in this skin right here. This is my very first moment on this planet, and right in front of me is my fuzzy man, and he's got to go to the vet. So I get in the car and I take him to the vet, and, I'm standing in front of the vet and he's telling me, Fuzzy had to have his little toe amputated 3 weeks ago because he had a cancerous growth on the pad of his foot, and it was very localized, so they just took the little pinky toe. But, traumatic for me, of course. But the most important thing that I can try and do for myself is force myself to be present, because if I launch into the future of what's going to happen to him, then I go into all sorts of connection or, it just and even in my business and with my relationship with my family, if I launch into the future of what could be happening, then it's all too unmanageable for me. But So, yeah, staying as present as I possibly can and focusing on the detail of just that moment, and then forcing myself to feel like I just fell out of the sky and what's in front of me, just let me deal with that. Now, here's another moment. I've just fallen out of the sky. What's in front of me? Let me deal with that. And I just keep doing that until I get past the sense of franticism or anxiety or whatever is there. And then, like you, Cyndi, I do have little rituals that I do in the morning. I tend to meditate most mornings. I wake up and go straight to my meditation pillow, and I'll sit there for a minimum of 20 minutes, either doing transcendental meditation or some kind of guided meditation. And I am loving Joe Dispenza's morning meditation and his blessing of the energy centers. I love that one. So I'm loving doing all of that sort of stuff. And then in the nighttime, I don't sit and watch the telly. I'll jump into bed with something fabulous that I've downloaded on my Kindle, or I'll sit and do something in my manifestation journal, or, meditation again. And I do, try and exercise as much as I can. So if I feel like it's all getting a bit frantic, and sometimes during the day, especially of late, by 11 o'clock, I'm feeling like, no, this is all too much. I'll put my shoes on and I'll go for a run. Or I'll put my cozy on and I'll head down to the local pool and I'll cut some laps. So burning off the energy does seem to work too. It just all accumulates inside.
It is true though, isn't it? I mean, you look at children, you look at animals, domesticated pets and things like that. They're just, even as a mum, that you just got to get your kids outside, or you've got to take them to the park, or you've got to walk your dog, or like, it is actually a divine need of us as humans, isn't it, to actually get into nature. Otherwise you get cranky, you're not nice, you're not looking out for yourself, you're probably not thinking clearly. So it's actually, rather than thinking wouldn't it be nice, we should actually be talking about the fact that how do we make this a reality every single moment of every single day in order to have good nourishment. You look at anybody that's diagnosed with a long-term illness, one of the first things that people suggest is to get into nature, get to a retreat, eat clean food, make sure that you're not having toxins and stress on the system and the body. My question is, why do we have to wait till we get an illness in order to realise this? Like, perhaps it's time as parents and as the generation that we're in is to start really focusing on the absolute necessity and importance of connecting into what Mother Nature has provided for us on a daily basis. It would probably fix most illnesses out there just by being able to take the space and the time, or even, I don't know, again, you might be able to help me on this one, Carren, but even the visualization of nature is a powerful tool, which is where meditation would come in so handy. And I also love Joe, and I flick back to Dr. Michelle Nielsen's, where she'll do her long magical beach walk or her forest walk, or you can actually create that. And I'm pretty sure I've read that you have the same physiological and biological reaction by visualizing these things as well. Is that right?
Yeah, well, the mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So when we do go into those beautiful visualizations, we are essentially taking on the energy of the trees or of the horses or of the mountains or of the beach. We are essentially taking on the energy. Of course, biologically, there's much more enhanced benefit to actually be in the presence of it and exchange physical energy, but the body can do that in and of itself, because in actual fact, and I know now that this is about to go down the rabbit hole, but we are all one. So we are already one with the trees. We are already one with the mountains. So that's kind of why we can have those visualizations and still get the same sensation, because it's all inside of us anyway. It's all part of existence. It's all part of consciousness. But that's another conversation.
I like it though. I love it.
So I have a question. Can you answer? You've answered how you do it. So I have a question. You're in the madness of it all. Okay, you're in the madness of it all. How do you stop yourself and then do that visualization, or take yourself outside, or take a breath, or because sometimes And I know people...
You just scream.
You scream.
You just scream in the moment and say, I'm a level 1 soul. You can all get stuffed. I'm having a moment. That's what you do.
There you go. There you go.
Sometimes you do, though. Don't you?
Yeah.
Or is it just me? No.
Yeah, definitely.
There was a and I just wish I could remember where I get these or read this. There was something that I read, and sometimes you hear something and it's right information at the right time and it creates the shift that you're ready for. But you've probably heard it 100 times before and it didn't quite register. And I was reading something probably one night in my Kindle, and it was about, loving yourself enough to make yourself a priority over and above everything and everyone. And I've heard that 100 times, and yeah, but I'm so busy. Yeah, but I've got so many people that I serve. Yeah, but. And it was at the beginning of this year that I must have been in the right frame of mind or whatever it was, but when I read it, it really resounded with me profoundly that everything is about me. The whole world exists in service of me. The nature is there in service of me. The food is there in service of me. The people are there in service of me. Of course, I'm there in service of it and them. But in my world, I'm the center of my universe. And it was quite a profound kind of realization where I realized that actually here I've got all of these incredible resources around me, and I don't dance with it. I don't interact with it. I try and be independent of it. 1, because I think I'm so busy, and 2, because I think I can be. I think I'm competent enough to be. But since the beginning of the year, when I've been, putting a lot more effort into my exercising, putting a lot more effort into going away, putting a lot more effort into my retreats, being in nature with them when I'm doing my retreats, really following my own inclinations around being in nature, and it's made a massive, massive difference to my sense of calm and sense of peace that, strangely enough, I don't feel even in those frantic times when I'm totally off the charts. I don't feel that I'm out of control. I feel like it's very deliberate and that I can cope. Does that make sense?
Guru.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, she is our guru.
I wish.
I don't know about that.
Thinking, God, where were you when my kids were toddlers, and where were you when my husband just did something that was very vexatious the other day? But seriously, you are our guru. My name is Kim
Danny
Morrison.
was very vexing.
My name is Kim Morrison, and I clearly do not have a strong sense of quiet. No.
And I have a vexing husband. Just there you go.
Oh, bless them. It is challenging, but then I think sometimes too in the moment it's okay to let out a little bit of steam or to be a little bit frustrated, isn't it? And sometimes, and the greatest thing I've learned is the art of apology too. Just remembering that it is okay to say sorry afterwards, or I've had a moment, or trying to teach my children how to contain their emotions. It doesn't work if you're doing the same. So I think one of the greatest things I've learned as my kids have become teenagers is the art of not being shocked in the moment. Is trying very hard to ensure one
Kimmy, you crack me up.
Very level-headed and level-minded as they're sharing information or telling me what's going on out there in their world. And you just sit there and go, wow. And my favourite line for all you mums of teenagers listening that gives you a breath and a moment to breathe is that you just respond with 2 words. No matter what they say, no matter how they say it, no matter what's going on, you take a deep breath and you say, that's interesting.
Oh my goodness, I can see your face.
Wow, that's really interesting. It stops all judgment. It stops all reactive measures that might be going on inside one's head and heart. But yes, I in fact, it's probably a powerful word to use at any age or any stage in any situation, those 2 words. That's interesting. There you go. There's my 2 cents worth. Profound, isn't it? You just took us down the rabbit hole and I just brought us right back up.
Oh, that is gold.
It's interesting.
Interesting.
So tell me then, do either of you two have favourite nature places? Like, where's your go-to when you can? I mean, we're pretty privileged living on the Sunshine Coast. Everywhere we look, there's water, there's bush, there's trees. I will remind all listeners, however, there is also quite a lot of trepidation and fear for Kiwis when we are in these bushes and places. There are a number of things that slither, sting, bite, burn, sting you, kill you, eat you. So one is very aware that when one is on the beach, one notices that even a glorious fish can kill you in that water. So I will say that whilst they're a favourite place here, it was very interesting being back in New Zealand just recently, and I watched a whole lot of school children cross the road in bare feet, and I sat there with my fellow Kiwis going, you wouldn't get that in Australia, would you? Hey, there's no such thing as bare feet living over there. And they're like, oh, why? Like, don't they get hot? I went, no, they're more concerned with being eaten. So it's quite interesting in Australia and New Zealand. You can actually go bare feet quite a lot. So I just want to know, where's your go-to, you two?
On the Sunshine Coast, are you talking about?
Well, you travel quite a lot. So, I mean, what do you do? Like, I think it's more relevant perhaps as to where you go or what you do to connect to nature wherever you are.
I get my Google Maps out and I look for the nearest green patch.
That's after you've done the coffee bean app, though, isn't it? The Bean Hunter app. You've looked at that one first.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, you're right. I have to do Bean Hunter first. And after I've done Bean Hunter, I go to the green patch. So, yeah, like right now I'm in Idaho. I'm here because of a wedding. We're staying at the parents' house of the girl that's being married. And it's in the middle of Boise, but they live on a huge block. And it's like being in nature. I don't have to move from here. There's so much greenery and trees and grass. Their grass isn't like our grass. I don't know what they do to their grass, but so lately I've been going and laying on the grass. So, yeah, it's the green patch, Kimmy, for me. And, yes, I did find a good coffee shop. Yes, you know me too well. What about you, Kim? What do you do?
You know, I think thankfully being around you girls and probably always been interested in the outdoors and always loving getting out. Running has always been a go-to for me, and or walking. But probably for me the most powerful tool I have in my life is essential oils. They really do anchor me. They give me a real sense of connection. I could be sitting in the middle, like I was just in the middle of, actually I was at the Lions and All Blacks test match that was a very interesting cultural experience. When you're speaking of culture and tradition, I'm not quite sure if it's what we would call a really beautiful culture, but an interesting culture at that. But having said that, I had my bag there, and in the middle of the game, I pull out my little spritzer bottle and I do a little spritz just to calm a little farm because it was getting a bit tense, and there was a lot of Lion supporters around us going for it. And then the minute we had a streaker go across the middle of the field, it was kind of like, I don't know, it was so funny. I went to the bathroom, I put a drop of rose oil on me. When I came back, everybody was asking me what I was wearing. Everybody was, it's just, I have my oils everywhere I go. No matter how intense and full on life is, there is always my spritzer. We have a gong go off every hour here in the office that on one of the girls' apps, on Kazzie's app, and we hear the gong go off on the hour every hour, and that is a signal for every one of us in the office to stand up, spritz, stretch, turn around, and then sit back down. And at lunchtime, we all go outside and we make sure we take a deep breath outside or try and walk. Sometimes I'll have a meeting or a phone call and I'll actually walk to our little, there's a little waterway thing where we work, and I'll walk out there and come back and make that my phone call. So I'll try and always do something, but it's just being mindful of doing it and making the effort to do it and not thinking that life's so busy we can't do it. So They're my little go-tos, but certainly whenever I travel, I have to find somewhere green as well, and I have to be somewhere that's one of the local places, or go for a walk up one of the hills, or, take a walk even down the street just to get to the local park or something like that. I absolutely love making sure that wherever I am, there's a moment in my day that is mindful out in nature. That's what I do, darlings.
I like that idea. I think it's brilliant, Kim.
Yeah, it's cool, and it makes it a really neat team thing as well. I mean, we're lucky. It's an aromatherapy company. I'd expect nothing less, really. But and I had my diffuser on at home, and I had, it's creating rituals around self-care that connect you to nature. And nature, she's got her arms around us every single moment of every single day. It's my way of looking back at her and saying thank you. And I'm so grateful for where we live, and I'm sure many of our listeners, no matter where they are, there is a green belt, there's a park, it's just whether or not you're committed to making it a choice to make the effort to get out there and enjoy it or be a part of it, or do you become the martyr and think it's not fair, it's too hard, I'm too busy. We all know that if you make the effort to go and walk outside for a few minutes, you're probably going to be a lot more productive for the next hour of working anyway. So why we fight it sometimes, I'm not sure. But in the middle of chaos and mayhem, I will put a drop of oil on my perfume points or snort the heck out of a bottle while I'm saying that's interesting. That's where I go.
I just want to see you do that with Jacob.
Oh, there's quite a few. Last night, I was actually picturing, the universe. I always say to people, how would you feel if the world's television cameras were in your lounge room as you're talking to your children or to someone that's upset you? It was in that moment I said, I am taking a moment, Jacob, to go to the bathroom and snort something before I answer that. So, yes, it is a very good pull to connect you back into staying calm. And last night was a very good example. He's such a ratbag. I often wonder if one day...
I think he's here to test you. He's here to test you.
He is, darling.
Something you have to learn.
Imagine in 10 years' time if he goes back and listens to these. I'm going to say it to you right now, Jacob. You challenged me. If you ever listen to these podcasts, I want you to know that you have taught me the art of patience, tolerance, acceptance, love no matter what. I thank you for that wholeheartedly, you divine soul. I'm thinking of taking him to the vet, actually.
I wonder if he'll ever listen to, I don't know what number we're up to. We must be up to 200 and something, which is well over probably 300 hours. Just not hear that one, Kimmy.
I just love it when one of our listeners comes up and they go, oh, hello, Taylor. I've heard so much about you. Oh, Jacob. It's lovely to meet you.
Dear.
Your poor mother. Oh, God, I love it.
Oh, that's gold.
Sorry, Kaz. What do you do, my darling?
Oh, me. What do I do? I'm a tree hugger, so I do love to hug a tree. But similarly, if I've got to choose between the ocean and bushland, I'll always go bushland, even though I don't like the crawly, slithery things. I'll find a spot where they're not there, and I just go stand there and hug a tree. So I do love a hike. I do love a bushland walk. If I'm feeling a bit frantic throughout the course of the day, though, because of where we do live is so stunning, I will head straight to the beach, dig my feet into the sand and just watch the water. And I love to watch the sun on top of the ocean and watch it dance like little diamonds on top of the ocean. I just love that. I think that's stunning. And then I'll just tell myself a story about how I'm one with that and that's in me, and that'll usually refresh me. And then back into it. But yeah, it's all about the very green.
Kaz, would you go back camping again? I'm interested to know if you'd go camping again.
Well, not so sure. No.
I was waiting for you to go, and now I've got this new love of camping, and it didn't come.
No, mind you, we did actually have a bit of a giggle and decided we might film Kaz's camping show next time I go camping. because it's quite hysterical.
Oh my God. I think you should. It would probably be
how she created power to power up her straighteners.
I think it would be kind of like, do you remember that Russell Coit?
Yeah. I love him.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. I will look forward to that. Very.
Kaz's Coit goes camping. There you go. Dear oh me. Because really, it's all about the toileting. I mean, seriously, it's no. See, no. Why did we have to go there?
Honey, that's nature. That's nature. What did your forefathers and foremothers do with long drops and things? Sweetheart, connect in.
Look. Yeah, right. Okay, good. No, hugging trees. Back to hugging trees. Puppies in paddocks, kittens with little whiskers. There we go.
Oh, I love you.
Dear, oh dear. Hey, you know what? We're out of time.
Oh.
We've done our full time on the podcast. I feel like we've only just started.
We can keep going when we finish. Keep going.
Yeah, right you are. Right.
Oh, love you two girls. Enjoy Idaho, beautiful Cyndi. We love the fact that you're there and you made time for us all, and enjoy that wedding that you are the celebrant at. You're just going to be amazing, and we want lots of photos.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell you that Kim Morrison is the absolute most amazing celebrant, and she has helped me with this wedding, as she did the last wedding that I did. So I just want to thank you publicly, Kimmy. You have, I read through it and I cry every time I read through it, but I hear your words in there as well, always. I just hear you. Yeah. So it's you and me together doing this. So thank you. And I know Karen's a celebrant too, everybody, by the way. She's one too.
Oh, yes, but I've never really pursued it, so let's just give it all to Kimmy.
Hey, well, how about, Kaz, here's a challenge. How about, what if you got married in nature and I was a celebrant, and Cyndi in her apricot puff sleeves could be the bridesmaid, and
nice.
That could be televised. That could be a good thing.
Look, if we were in nature, Cyndi would have to be dressed as Bear Grylls or naked. Seriously?
I'm going to have my furs on.
Oh, dear. There you go. Yeah, well, Kimmy, I suggest you have a little conversation with Jeffrey and see how that works out. Jeffrey, actually, everybody that's listening, I'm not dating somebody different.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Jeffrey is the nickname that I have for Matt. So
yeah. Glad you clarified that one, beautiful girl.
Yeah, that just struck me then. I thought, oh, dear, everybody's going to think that I'm not with Matt anymore. But no, same person.
Oh.
Anyway.
What a beautiful podcast.
We digress.
Love you, darling.
This has been fun. This has been heaps of fun. Thanks for tuning in with us, Cyndi, all the way from overseas. Beautiful. All right, everybody. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed this podcast as much as we have. It's time to go to our Facebook page, allthews.facebook.com/up-for-a-chat, and post your comments there. And we love hearing from you. So give us some feedback. Tell us about some topics that you'd like to hear us discuss as well. Now, Kimmy, the gorgeous soul, has also mentioned a couple of times our treks to New Zealand and also to Africa. So I wanted to let you guys know we are trekking off to New Zealand at the end of 2017. And we have one spot left, just one spot. So go to the website, awakenthechangewithin.com. And that's where you can find all of the information about both our Africa trip, which is 2018. You can find all about Africa, which is late 2018, and you can also find out about the last spot that's remaining for New Zealand. So go ahead and check those out. And if you would like to join us, I really encourage you to reach out to me personally. Email me at info@karensmith.com and try and get your email to me ASAP, because our bookings are actually closing in the next 6 weeks. So please go ahead and do that. We would love to have you guys share the journey with us to New Zealand or also to Africa. So come along and let's explore some nature together. You can also go to all the www.thewellnesscouch.com/up-for-a-chat, and you can post your comments and questions there for us. This has been an absolute treat to share this last hour with you guys. We're going to see you here same time, same station next week on Up for a Chat, where you become part of the ripple effect that's changing the world. And we're going to see you on the track. Bye, everyone.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.